David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about Carniflorus rex, the carniflora, the man catcher, the man eating plant. It's kind of my catch-all. I use this one creature anytime I need a hostile plant. So I think he's got a little bit of everything, and it keeps things simple while having one organism that's complex. So the alternate strategy would be to have many different organisms, each one being a little bit more simplistic. They're both great options. I've made my decision. I use this creature in fantasy, sci-fi, horror, all kinds of games. So what is the Carniflorus rex? The Carniflorus is a plant that grows throughout its life. It grows like a kudzu. So it will have a central root, a stem, its root system down in the ground. It will send out vines creeping along the ground. At a certain point, those vines will anchor and form a new root system. And then that root system will do the same. It'll send off more snaking vines and begin that root system again elsewhere. So it'll just spread and grow. It'll climb up walls and implant in the wall, in the ceiling. It'll go through air vents into other rooms. It'll go pretty much anywhere that you need it to go. I'd imagine it as a shallow-rooted plant. I have run this where the roots are very shallow, and it can pull up its roots and drag itself or crawl slowly. I don't usually run it that way, but you certainly can. You can modify this. So there are 3 phases to the Carniflorus. 4 if you want to add a fantasy twist, which if you're in a fantasy setting, why not? So the very first stage, it's this grapefruit-sized bulb. It's rough, it's almost scaly looking, red, white spotted. So it's this tiny bulb that the vine will snake out and plant and form. And these bulbs can detect movement through their skin, primarily by the difference in light reaching them. They can feel shadow pass over them, and they interpret this as movement. So it's not vision in the way that we have with our eyes. It's somewhat different. It's almost like a tactile sense of its surroundings. And they can also sense pheromones as well. So they can smell. So they will get your sweat, your pheromones. If you want to run them with a little bit of intelligence or instinct, maybe they could tell who's who. Maybe they could tell if you're large, small, a dog, a cat, a person, a khajiit, whatever you are. They might be able to sense that. Now the small bulbs will focus towards you. They're almost lemon shaped, in fact, and they will focus towards you with that snout. They will puff up and then poof down, and a tiny eruption of gas comes out the front end. And it has used this gas to fire a thorn out through the air and into your skin. Of course, any kind of armor will negate this. It will render it just a curiosity. However, for those who are lacking in armor, for those who are pierced in their flesh, it can inject poison into them. And the way I usually run the poison that it injects into them as kind of a slow poison that attacks the nervous system of the individual, and it basically brings them down. It's like a depressant. They get heavy, slow, stupid, staggering. They make mistakes at that point. They want to lay down and sleep. And it's actually infected their body with spores, and it's starting to grow inside them. It's starting to spread roots and tendrils inside of their body, and up and down the pathways of their nervous system, try to turn them into basically a zombie, a plant-based zombie who is going to want to bring food towards the bulb. He's going to want to lure his friends back to the root system. where they can be consumed, where they can act as fertilizer, or where they can be infected. You could certainly have the bulbs sprouting out of the person, his shoulder, his back, vines riddling through his flesh if it's a late onset case, if it's something that's essentially killed the original person, replaced him with a plant zombie. And eventually, once the flesh is completely consumed, that zombie will lay down and begin a new sprout of the carniflorus. So that's phase one. It's the little bulb with the little thorn. That's a big impact. Now you can swap out that poison. I love the plant zombies. I'll even use them in sci-fi. I think it's really interesting. I'll have people fighting the infection. I'll have people, medical science trying to save them. If you want, you can make it any kind of poison. A hallucinogen, something necrotic that will eat their flesh away, just something that will kill them. Whatever you want to do, you can modify this. And I've used it in several different ways as well. So stage 2 of the carniflora, the carniflorus rex, is that grapefruit or lemon-sized bulb will get larger and larger. It's now going to be like football-sized, or maybe even quite large, like beach ball-sized. So at this point, inside of that bulb, it's actually going to make the skin much thinner. It's going to almost be swelling and pulsing. And at this point, it can no longer fire any thorns out of it. But if anything is to stumble into one of these, beach ball sized pods, then it will erupt in gaseous spores. So you get this spore cloud around the person. Of course, if they are not breathing for whatever reason, if they have a mask, perhaps even just a damp cloth over their face, they could be immune and protected from this. If not, I basically use the exact same poison. You can make it a different poison if you want. You could have the bulb shoot a paralytic and the larger one have a hallucinogenic cloud. I usually have it the same with the same organism, but you don't have to. So again, this is an inhalant, and for me, it gets the vines growing in the lungs, killing the person, turning them into a plant zombie, a zombie that has threaded through the original nervous system. So it might have almost a pseudo memory of what that person remembered, enough to try to get people and prey back towards the bulb so they can fertilize it. And this can affect animals as well. You don't need to have human zombies. It could be a leopard, a jaguar, monkeys swinging around, a sloth. Whatever you want to do, you can use it there. Bears, wolves, birds, perhaps. Some birds with the pods growing out of them and flowers streaming. That could be a tremendous visual as well. Have them flying around, leading other birds back, hunting mice and dropping them at the base of the larger pods. So that is life cycle 2, is the spore cloud. 1 was the dart shooter, the thorn shooter, and 3 is when they finally become large enough that they are man-sized, horse-sized, maybe even larger. And at this point, the pod is able to split open and consume prey. So this could be an ambush predator where it's waiting for you to draw close. Then the split, it comes down and closes around a person. It could rend their arm off, could pull their head inside of it, and then seal itself back up. You can also, of course, give them prehensile vines. I've done this before where it'll have the kudzu go out, the little lemon-sized pod, and in times of extreme stress, need, duress, whatever it is, it'll pull that lemon-sized pod up and lash it out like a whip, like a tentacle or a tendril. I use that as a weapon, perhaps to draw people into the larger maw of the beast. So that's step 3, is the man-eater, the man-catcher. Call it as you will, know it as you like. And if you want to go even further than that, you can have some kind of dryad or al-rayun type creature where the pod will open up and there's a humanoid creature inside, perhaps sapient, directing all of the other plants that are connected to it as one massive life form spread perhaps through miles of the jungle, of a cave system, of a derelict spaceship, whatever you want to do with it. I have run it that way as well, of course, in a fantasy game, and it was very interesting. The Alvarune, its ability to speak and relate to mammals is very low. But it was a real interesting role-playing challenge to try to think with the mindset of a plant, of something that cannot move, of something that's trying to spread and grow and get its spores out and get the human servants to it. So that is basically my plant monster. I use this for all of them. Each life cycle, each phase, you could make into its own very separate entity. No problem at all. I've decided to incorporate them all into one creature. I think it makes the one creature more interesting. And that's pretty much it for the Carniflora Rex, the big daddy plant. So let me know what you think of this plant monster. Let me know about plant monsters you've used in the past. I love plant monsters. Leave that in the comments below. And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.